Mic check, 1 2.
I am the greatest.
I'm a goat, I'm that goat. I'm an undisputed goat. I suggest you take notes. I'm the G-O-A-T vector. Stand back in line. I'm undefeated even if it's just in my mind. I'm a goat, I'm that goat. I'm an undisputed goat. I suggest you take notes. I'm the G-O-A-T vector. Stand back in line. I'm undefeated even if it's just in my mind. Gotta put in work, gotta put in work. Get it on the grind, get it on the grind. Ain't nothing easy, ain't nothing easy. Starts in your mind, starts in your mind. From the pyramid to electricity, to electricity. It's hard to get to woke, it's hard to get to woke. It's hard to get to free, it's hard to get to free. It's easy to give in, it's easy to give in. It's easy to be lazy, it's easy to be lazy. Gotta go for your dreams.
Good morning from California. Happy Sunday. Hey, how you doing today? How's your Sunday morning / afternoon going today? Welcome to the Political Goat Show, TPG as we call it, where we talk national politics from the Black perspective. I am your host, Chris Lashin. Welcome again. Today on TPG, we are talking about the historic recall election going on for California governor right now. Only the fourth recall election in U.S. history going on right now here in California. So today we'll talk about that, give you the basics of all of that. Hey, before we do any of that though, please family, don't forget, like this channel, like this video, subscribe, share it, and talk to somebody about some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, which is California's recall election. Share what you learned with somebody in your family. All right, ready, set, let's go. Round one. Round one. So let's talk about California's recall election. First of all, what is a recall election? What is that all about? Well, a recall election really simply is just an election to either keep or remove or replace a politician or a government official, usually before their job or their time ends. And right now, there is a recall election going on for governor of California right now. Voting in California's recall election started on August 16th, so that was like last week or so, and will be going on until September 14th. So that is the second Tuesday in September. Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, right now is running to keep his job, and there are over 40 other people running to take his place. The recall election normally, in any recall election, has two parts. The first part is usually about asking you and me as potential voters and people who might be voting in this recall, if you're here in California, what the first part usually says is, do you want to keep or remove your governor, right? So, or whoever the person is that's being recalled. So for our recall that's going on here in California, the question that's being asked is, first, should the governor be recalled? Yes or no? And then the second part asks, if the governor is recalled, who would you like to replace the governor? So a no vote, in our case, a no vote means no, I do not want to remove the governor, or I want to keep the governor. And then a yes vote means, yes, I want to remove the governor, and I don't want to keep him, I want to remove. So really simply, no means keep the governor, yes means remove the governor. To keep the job, or to keep his or her job, or whoever's being recalled, to keep their job, they need at least 50% of the people to say that they want to keep the person in office. So in our case here in California, for this recall election, if more than 50% of people vote no, then Gavin Newsom can keep his job. If more than 50% of people vote yes on that first part, as we just talked about, then Gavin Newsom will lose his job. And then we go to that second part of the recall, which is who do you want to replace the governor if he is replaced? Now, even if you vote no on the first part of that and you want to keep the governor, so even if you vote no because you want to keep the governor, you can still choose somebody in that second part of the ballot, even though you want to keep the current governor. So you can definitely also still choose a replacement candidate, even if you still want to keep Governor Newsom or our current governor or whoever the person being recalled is, wherever you are in office, you can still pick somebody on that second part of the ballot that you're going to get. So we're starting to talk about this recall more. You're going to hear more about it definitely from us here on TPG and also from other places too. But just getting you started with some of the basics about California's recall. All right, let's keep going. Let's get into round two.
Round two.
All right, so picking right up where we left off, we're talking about recall. We're talking about what a no vote means and what a yes vote means. And we just said that you can absolutely pick somebody on that second part of the ballot, even if you want to keep the governor. Now, let's talk about that second part of the ballot, right? Who's running against the governor? Well, there's a bunch of different candidates, over 40 different people. I think about 46 different candidates have actually been certified or been approved to be on the ballot in this recall election that's going on. So there are over 40, I believe about 46 other people you can choose from. And you can vote by mail, you can vote in person, you can vote by dropping off your ballot at one of the drop box locations. If you're here in California, there's usually drop boxes located around wherever you are that you can just drop your ballot off. It makes it really, really simple and really, really convenient. Now, there are going to be in-person voting centers, and those in-person voting centers are opening as early as September 4th. So as early as a week or so from now, you will be able to, or 2 weeks from now, you will be able to actually go into a voting center, or what we might used to call a polling place, and actually physically cast your ballot or do your vote there. Now, you don't, even if you get your ballot in the mail, you don't have to mail it back. You can still take it into a voting place or a polling place or a voting center, or even still drop it off in one of the ballot drop boxes. And if you do drop it off in one of those ballot drop boxes, then, or if you mail your ballot in, then you can actually sign up for alerts and actually track where your ballot is, so you can keep an eye on it, kind of like how we keep an eye on like FedEx and UPS, packages, right? You can do the same thing with your ballot. And the website to go to, if you have mailed in your ballot and want to track where it is, the website to go to is where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov. So that's where's my ballot, spelled like it sounds, right? .sos.ca.gov. And by the way, that SOS stands for Secretary of State. So that's what that SOS means. So where's my ballot.sos.ca.gov. That's where you can track where your ballot is if you mailed your ballot back in. And as we kind of just said, we didn't say it explicitly, but if you are a registered voter in California, you should have received or will receive, probably by the end of the month, no later than the end of the month, a ballot in the mail. So if you're a registered voter, and importantly, if you're a registered voter with a physical home address, right, then you will have received a ballot in the mail, or should receive a ballot in the mail pretty soon. Why did I just say that if you are a registered voter and have a physical home address? I'm saying that because we know that there's a lot of our people who are registered voters, maybe registered voters, but actually don't have a physical address, right? We know the unhoused and homeless population here across California is pretty bad. And so there are a lot of people who don't have physical home addresses. So if you do have a physical home address and you are a registered voter, you should have received your ballot in the mail. All right. more basics on California's recall. Let's go to round 3.
Round 3.
Okay, so continuing more basics about California's recall election. Again, only the fourth recall election for governor that's ever happened in U.S. history. Only the fourth time this has ever happened in 250, 60 plus years. So really, really important historical thing going on right here in California right now. As we were just saying, there will be different ways to vote. You can vote by mail. You can vote in person at a polling place or voting center those that open up as early as September 4th. And you can also drop your ballot off at a ballot drop box. Where do you find your ballot drop box though? Where do you find those? Well, the quickest, easiest way to find where the ballot drop boxes will be is to go online and Google, and you can just type this in Google, type the name of your county here in California. So whatever county you live in or whatever city you live in, type your city name and then type ballot drop box location. So Google whatever city you are and then the words ballot drop box locations. And that should give you a list of where the ballot drop boxes are in your area. They're different for every different part of California, and they change every single election. So right now, you want to Google and find where your ballot drop boxes are. I don't think any ballot drop boxes are out yet, but I'm not sure. So just being honest, you wanna Google and find out where those ballot drop boxes are. The last day to register to vote in order to get a ballot in the mail is August 30th. So if you want to vote by mail, the last day to register to vote by mail is August 30th. So that is in about 8 days from when we're shooting this. So if you want to vote by mail, and again, you don't have to, you can vote by going into a polling place or voting center. You can do it at the drop box as well. But if you want to vote by mail, if you want to just get the ballot and then mail it back in, the last day to register, if you're not registered to vote and still want to vote by mail, is August 30th. In most places across California, though, in most counties, you can register to vote and vote in person if you show up to a polling place or a voting center that same day, pretty much. So and even up until the last day to vote. So let's say I'm somebody who wants to register to vote and it's September 14th. It's the last day to vote, right? And I'm not registered, but I still want to vote. So even up until that last day to vote, in most places in California, I can go into a voting center or a polling place, register to vote right there and vote that same day. So keep that in mind if you're not registered or if you're not going to register up until the last day to vote. Obviously, you should probably be registered to vote right now if you're here in California. And if you want to register to vote online, you can do that too. So the question of how do you register to vote, right, outside of going into a polling place or a voting center, you can absolutely register to vote online. And you can also check out your voter registration status too. You can find out other information about your political party, if you're a part of a political party, et cetera, et cetera. The website and the place you want to go to online for that is www.voterstatus.sos.ca.gov. So that's voter status, spelled like it sounds, voterstatus.sos.ca.gov. And that's where you go if you want to check your registration, register to vote, find out what political party you are a part of and all, or if you're not a part of any political party and just want to confirm that, and all kinds of other information too you can find on this website. And I keep referring to this SOS. That's the Secretary of State's website. And really, that's the place where you can find a lot of election and voter information. And the Secretary of State, for those of you who don't know, for California is former Assemblywoman in California, Dr. Shirley Weber, who is pretty famous here in California. So just some basic information. One more thing to say is that there's always this question about writing candidates. Can you write somebody in? The general rule for California is absolutely you can write in candidates, but it doesn't mean that they will count. So if you are planning on writing in a specific candidate, then what you want to be sure of is that candidate is actually on the list, that list of 46 candidates. If that candidate is not one of those people, even if you write them in, they probably won't count. And that doesn't mean that you can't write in any person that you want, though. But just want to give you the rules that if you are choosing to write in a candidate, it may not count if that candidate is not on the specific list. Okay. All right. So that is a lot of information. I do want to talk about where the race is now. And so where is the election for the recall right now? What are the polls telling us right now? And for whatever the polls are worth, right? What are the polls telling us right now? On two questions in particular, specifically. The first question that I want to look at from the data and the polls and what the surveys and what people are saying question or perspective is, one, do Californians actually do folks in California actually want to remove Gavin Newsom, the current governor, from office? So that's the first question. And then the second question I want to look at from the actual data and polls question is who or whom would California want to replace Governor Newsom if he is replaced? And these are two questions that I actually want to look at, like I said, from the polls, but I want to talk to you also because polls are just surveys, right? Polls are just a collection of what people said, what individuals like you said in a survey. Now, I say you, but I got to keep it real. I've never been in a political poll. I've never been polled for any political anything. I don't know if you have, if you in the chat, or if you watching, please tell us if you've ever been like called for a political poll or somebody reached out to you online or via email. I've never been a part of any political poll in all my life. So I can tell you right now that, I don't necessarily know, who it is that they are talking to, but I know I've never been a part of it. But we take what we have, right? So on that first question, do Californians actually want to remove the governor, Gavin Newsom? And I want to direct you to what I'm looking at for polls right now. I'm looking at 538.com. It was 538.com, and that's spelled, all the words spelled out, like 5, F-I-V-E, or 38.com. And I'm looking at the latest polls of the California recall. And what I'm looking at are a mix of different polls. I'm not looking at just one poll. I'm looking at a combination of different polls. And I'm not just looking at one poll or this combination at one time. I'm looking at a combination of different polls over a period of time. And then asking the question based on what these polls are telling us, what the pictures and what the graphs tell us from the polls, do Californians actually want to keep or remove Governor Newsom, and has that been getting bigger or smaller over time, whatever the answer is. So just putting all the cards on the table here, I wanted to show you where I'm getting the information so you can follow along too. And you can also read through some of this and maybe pick out and point to some things that, I may have missed, right? So, all right, let's look at just some what we call poll averages. And that's just looking at something in a combination of polls way over time, right? So let's take a look at where we are right now, right? So right now, as of the last day that we have any polls, okay? So not right now, today, which is the 22nd of August, Sunday morning, but the last day that we have any polls, and the last day that we have any polls or any surveys is August 17th. So the last polls and surveys came out on August 17th. And when you add the last poll that came out in August 17th to the ones that have been before that, and you combine them all up, and then you look at them over time, right now, or at least back on August 17th, 48.8% of the people who were polled said that they want to keep Gavin Newsom as governor, and 47.6% of the people who were polled say they want to remove Gavin Newsom as governor. So again, I want to explain a little bit about what these numbers mean. This is a 48.8% number, and this is a 47.6% number. The 48.8% number is the average right now, based on the most recent polls we have and the polls that we've collected over time. This is the number or the percent of people in California who say they want to keep Gavin Newsom as governor. For the 47.6 number, this is from the last information we have and from what we've collected in the past polls and surveys. This is the number or percent of people in California who say that they want to remove Gavin Newsom as governor. So right now, the polling averages are telling us that 48.8% of Californians who are going to vote say that they want to keep the governor, and then 47.6 say that they want to remove the governor. How has this number been changing over time, though? So if you're on 538.com with me right now and you're looking at the latest polls for the governor of California recall election, that part of the website, and you're looking at the first graph or first picture there, then you can see the line for those who want to remove the governor, the people, the number of people and the percentage. That number was and has been going up since we started looking at these polls or these poll averages, and the number of people who want to keep the governor has been going down. I can't do that. So down, kind of like I'm doing. So it's been going down. Okay. So, but sometime in, let's say, and I'm looking at the information here right now live, and we're doing this live, right? So sometime in early August, so sometime within the last 2 weeks, the number or percent of people who said that they want to keep the governor stopped going down and started to flatten out. And the number of people who said they want to remove the governor stopped going up and started to flatten out also. So even though the numbers look like they have been going down for those who want to keep the governor and up for those who want to remove the governor, that was really, really true, or more true, in the month of July and June. It looks like from the lines that we're looking at, from the picture and chart that we're looking at, it looks like sometime early this month and during this month, those levels started to stable out a little bit. And right now, the keep Governor Newsom crowd is winning by about 1 or 2 points. Now, that is pretty close. And to be honest with you, that is within what we call the margin of error. So 48.8 and 47.6 are only different by about 1.2%. That is close enough to basically call this a tie right now. So just keep that in mind too, that right now we're looking at a pretty tie race. That's where we are with the question of, do Californians want to remove Governor Newsom from office? That's what the data is telling us right now, based on the most recent polls we have and the polls we've collected over time. All right. For this last question that we want to look at actually where the polls and surveys and what are Californians saying right now, right? So for this other question of whom would remove somebody's dog is out there, who would Californians want to replace Governor Newsom with as governor? So this is pretty simple. There are about, as we said, 46 candidates who are running to replace Gavin Newsom. If you look at the chart that we're looking at right now on 538.com, that takes a look at the most recent surveys that we have and what we've collected over time. Based on the most recent surveys that we have, which really are going back to the the first week of August. So we really haven't had any polls on the second or other candidates over the last week or so, or 2 weeks. But based on what we have in the past, there are 3 leaders right now for who would replace Gavin Newsom as governor if Gavin Newsom is removed. The first is someone named Larry Elder. The second is someone named John Cox. And the third is, and I'm going to mess up the first name, but the last name is Paffrath. So that's Paffrath. So it's Elder at 19.3%, Paffrath at 9.1%, and Cox at 6%. Okay? So in this last few minutes, as we round this part of the conversation up, before we do, I want to just give you a little bit about where this has been going for these other candidates. So for the candidate Larry Elder, his support looks like it's been growing over the past 2 weeks, but it's flattened out over the last week or so, at least up until we had the last poll. And then the other candidates, John Cox and Mr. Paffrath, have been pretty much flat or going down with the case of John Cox. So that's where they've been going over the last few weeks or so. We'll see when new polls come out where they are and whether or not they've been going up or going down since that last poll. So let's stop here because there's a lot more to say about this recall, and we will be saying a lot more about it. But that's just some basic information about it. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or feedback, feel free to use the comment section. Also, feel free to reach out to us directly. If you have any questions, we're more than happy to answer and talk with you on any of these specific recall topics and questions. And I want to thank you again for joining the Political Goat Show, TPG, where we give you that political game, that good political game. We give you the national politics from the Black perspective, not the national politics, but national politics from the Black perspective. I'm your host, Chris Larson. Thank you again so much. And this has been the Political Goat Show. See you next time.
I am the greatest.
I'm a goat, I'm that goat, I'm an undisputed